Rip City, this is Jerami Grant, and you're listening to the Blazers Balcony with Brooke, Olzendam, and Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blazer fans, and welcome to the Blazers Balcony presented by our friends at Spirit Mountain Casino. Episode 151 of the Blazers Balcony presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. I am your co-host, Casey Holdahl. I'm joined by my co-host and friend, Brooke Olzendam, and her palatial estate, holiday decked out to the nines. Brooke Olzendam, how are you doing, friend?
I'm good. It's not as decked out as it is going to be. We're like in the process.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we were on the road so long that before we left, I got stuff out. And then before we left for the second trip, which was just the one-off to New Orleans, did a little bit more. So it's a process. We're getting there. But I think I would say we're 75% there. I'm great. Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about, I'm great because we're coming off a win.
Yeah.
Over the Warriors. And as you mentioned last time, when we beat the Warriors, you said, and you're correct, I said this was the best day of my life. I love beating the Warriors. And so I even said it last night on the postgame show. I said, I don't recall if I've ever said this because I don't think it's ever happened, that we have won the battle essentially against the Warriors in the season. And then you brought up when you got here today that in 2021, I think it was 2-1. Like we only played them.
Yeah, I think in 2021 we played them 2-1, and that was that year where like everyone was injured, and they that might have been the year where just like we're just not even going to compete this year. Which like not to take it away anything about the way we're playing. Sure. No, and I'm saying that like even when it happened in 2021, probably felt a little more like technically we did win the season series. We played the games that were on our schedule, but that's not really the Warriors team that has been kind of giving us the work for the last decade.
Correct.
And actually, I meant to go back and be like, okay, but before that, when was the last time we won the season series? Because that starts to get more into their heyday. And I mean, they were like this with a lot of teams, but it's like every time it felt like something good was maybe happening for the Trailblazers, like, oh, well, there's the Golden State Warriors, and so much for that. So you're right to be able to get these 3 wins versus the Warriors this season. I think, again, as we talked about when they won in that Cup game, for me it felt like a little bit of like a change of eras. Mm-hmm. And it felt that way at the time, but I will say that once again in the game on Sunday night, which the Trailblazers did win 136-131 in front of a crowd of 19,000 at Moda Center.
Great crowd.
Fantastic crowd. That when they went up 10 points in the fourth quarter, Steph hits like 3 3-pointers in a row. In my head, I was like, oh, well,
seen this movie before.
Yeah, like this is the way it goes. Like we played a great 3 quarters. We hung tough. And now Steph is going to do what he does, and that's going to be the way it's going to go. But it didn't this time. Mm-hmm. The Trailblazers battled back, thanks in large part to Jerami Grant, hit those 2 3-corner threes. Back-to-back, Blazers scored, I think, 12 straight points to get back into the game and end up, as I mentioned, winning 136-131, even with Steph Curry having 48 points on 16 of 26 shooting from the field and 12 of 19 shooting from 3, the most 3-pointers he's ever made in a loss in his career.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a shout-out to Sean Hyken. He was the one that was asking folks about that, and Wyeth, PR Wyeth, who's doing a great job,
shout out to both of them.
Went out and found it. So, yeah, Blazers getting that one behind 3 really great performances. I think the first guy you look at is Jerami Grant. Had just a phenomenal game in that one. 35 points in 34 minutes, 7 of 13 from the field, 12 of 22 from the field, 7 of 13 from 3. I think I messed that up.
No, we get it.
But just a great game for Jerami.
Jerami's awesome.
He was fantastic in that game. He's really been playing well lately. Shaedon Sharpe had probably his best game of the season. 35 points as well on 12 of 18 shooting from the field and 5 of 7 shooting from 3, which is ridiculous.
Super efficient.
4 steals and 4 assists for Shaedon. One of Shaedon's things is like, I think some of his teammates kind of rib him from time to time about his passing or lack thereof. And so I think there's sometimes Shaedon's like, I'm going to show these guys. I'm going to pass the ball.
He did. He did a great job.
He did a really nice job in that one. And then Deni Avdija doing what he's been doing all season long. 26 points. A lot of that coming from the line. 12 of 13 from the free throw line for Deni to go with 8 assists and 7 rebounds in 33 minutes. Also, real great night for Rob Williams. City Sissoko winning the new award here that we can
cute.
talk about here in a minute. But just a really fun game on Sunday at Moda Center. Damian Lillard glass night. And you're exactly right, Brooke. Like a great crowd. And particularly, that game was a late ad. So a lot of times you're kind of like, I don't know what this crowd's going to really look like because, they're in season ticket packages and they put it in other ticket packages. But there's really only like 10 days in order to buy tickets for that game, which generally, the Warriors are always a good draw. But long story short, when you add a game to your schedule that late, you don't really know kind of how that's going to play out.
Oh, especially during the holidays. People are planning stuff.
Exactly. During the holidays and on a Sunday, NFL is kind of at a fever pitch right now. So
that weird Seahawks game was happening.
Weird Seahawks game with my fellow 45-year-old Phillip Rivers out there.
Same.
So you just kind of don't know what to expect. Phenomenal crowd. Like just fantastic
great.
crowd, really engaged. And really just a really fun night at Moda Center for the Trailblazers to get their 10th win of the season and a win that felt like they really kind of needed.
I have so many things to say right now.
I want to hear all of it, Brooke.
So, I'll start with the crowd. I don't need to come back to this, but playing the Warriors, it's one of those things where I know it's probably every arena where when whatever team in the NBA is playing the Warriors and perhaps the Lakers, I would add, there's a lot of opposing fans, and they just I honestly I don't even hate it as much as I used to because I do believe that young fans probably started liking the NBA because they thought Steph Curry was so awesome shooting from the logo and or half court wherever, like they probably that's when they started being like, oh, basketball's kind of fun, that's cool. So if it brings more fans to or people to be a fan in the NBA, I will support it. But I will say last night felt like the least amount of Warriors fans in the building versus Blazers fans than I can recall.
I agree. And also it felt weird on introductions because like Draymond got brewed pretty thusly and Steph's reaction was even a little like, he still got cheers, but it wasn't to the same level. And you're right. Like during the actual like flow of the game, particularly in a game where Steph hit so many threes, you would hear the,
it would feel 50-50 in the past, and it didn't feel like that.
It did not feel that way. And the only thing I'll add to that too, Brooke, I agree. But as an employee of the Trailblazers, if you want to give us your money, Warriors fans, I'm more than happy to take it.
Yeah, no, we'll take your money, but but then we'll also be like, bye when you're leaving.
Well, I remember too it's been years now, but the guy who wore a Steph jersey to the game, and then the Warriors lost, and he changed into a Dame jersey.
Yeah,
and like it was sitting by press row, so we got video of it.
That's actually
that did pretty well for
hilarious.
us.
Hilarious. That's a viral. Perfect. That's perfect for viral content. I hope the social media posted that as much as they could.
Well, this was years ago, but yes, we got a lot of mileage out of that.
Good.
Yeah. So
back to all the things I was thinking. So Jerami was amazing, and like we on Blazers balcony, we kind of like to take you behind the balcony. And so, and I've talked about this before, but when it's time to like choose your post-game interview, my producer and I go back and like we talk about it, but also it's one of those unspoken things where it's a close game, we don't talk about it. So it's kind of a rush, like when it's like a 1, 2, 3 point game and you're not entirely sure if you're going to win the game or lose the game. I know depending on how you feel about, talking about stuff like that, like is it going to jinx it? Some people believe in that, some people don't, but we just try really hard to not talk about who we might interview post game until the game is over. But the problem with that is that when the game ends, you're rushing out there, and I have to tell PR who I want, and we got to make sure they don't run off the court in case you don't know like how long they're going to take. Some guys know people from other teams and they want to talk, but you just don't know how long they're going to be on the floor. So you want to be able to tell people, your PR staff, who you want to talk to. So I was talking to my producer Greg, and I said, okay, it's between Jerami and Shaedon, obviously. I mean, there's everyone deserved one, not that they love having them. Trust me, they'd rather just get back to this isn't like some honor, but I'm just telling you how we go about our, like, choosing the post-game walk-off interview.
It's important to spread it out, just in general, too. I think about that even, like, when I'm posting photos on the homepage, I'm like, yeah, I feel like we've had Deni up there too much. Let's get Tumani some photos here. And again, it's like Do they ever notice that? Of course
No.
not. Does anyone else but me notice that? No.
No.
But it feels like it's my responsibility.
It's just, in my mind, I want to make it fair.
Exactly.
And even if they would rather all, again, probably go to the locker room and dap up, I get that. They'd rather not be out there waiting. Like, okay, Brooke.
They want to talk to Brooke.
That's very sweet. I don't know about all of them. Like, but Shaedon, I mean, I do
not all
know
of them.
they're all lovely and they love doing it. But I do understand that it's maybe not like their favorite thing in the world to do, but they're great about it. And so, anyways, my point is, I was talking to Greg and I said, should we get Jerami? And I was leaning more towards Jerami just because he was hitting those threes late in the game. But then when you kind of look overall with Shaedon, like he did a little bit of everything and defensively, and that's what I talked to him about in the post-game interview. We did decide on Shaedon if you didn't watch the game. We, at the last second, decided on Shaedon because he had 4 steals on top of his offense, which is he was awesome. Like we talked about it during the broadcast, he looked like we always say training camp Shea because all his teammates always say training camp Shea. He was training camp Shea tonight. And so he also did a great job on defense, which I know that he's been working on, and that's like a focus of his. So it made sense. Either one. Jerami would have been awesome too. Deni would have been great too. Donovan was, had a great line. He didn't score a ton, but he was great. But Shaedon made more sense in the end. But I'm just like kind of talking you through the end of it where we're like, who's doing it? Oh, it was Shaedon. And I just like yell at Maggie and her son, Shaedon. And they're like, okay. And then we run out and then Jerami ended up doing radio. So like it was great. But I love those nights where it's a great win. And then you're like, who do I interview? Because you have options because there's so many great players. Like those are the best nights. And so that was one of those. And I did, of course. I had to ask him. I did have to throw in 3 straight wins over the Golden State Warriors. Like, you got to say it. You got to say it because I don't know if I've ever said it before.
And it's good you did say it because I'm guessing there is no way that Shaedon knew that we've beaten the Warriors 3 times this season. That's just not his. That's not his way. So it's nice that you were you're letting him know. Yeah, and and again, like that. For those of us who have worked for the team for a while now, and you've run up against the Warriors over and over and over again, even when they weren't at their best, it was like. Still a team that just always seems to have our number for whatever reason.
Totally.
Also, too, I don't know if you noticed it because you were probably busy, but in the last game in San Francisco versus the Warriors, I don't know if they do this for every team. Maybe it was just for the Cup game, and maybe they do this for every team. But they have like a feature before the game where they ask their players like, what do you remember about matchups versus the X, whatever team? And they were doing the Trailblazers one, obviously. And both Steph and Draymond especially.
Am I going to get mad about this?
Well, I don't recall exactly what they said, but there was definitely like a little like, oh yeah, little brother. Yeah, a little tussle their hair a little bit. Yeah, we've always had some good matchups versus them. Oh, I think Draymond especially was like, We've had good matchups again, particularly in the playoffs where we swept them that one time too. And I was just like, and again, it's like you got to take it because it's not wrong. But then to win that game, and then now to win the third game, it just feels like you're like, all right, we're starting to make some progress.
No, it's the second best day of my life last night.
Second best day. And again, I also think too. At least from my perspective, again,
third best night of my life after the first 2.
After the first 2, okay. So, the first one, they were a little short-handed.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I still did, but the second one was like, oh, dang, let's go.
In their house was a good one. Yeah.
Because remember, we talked about this. It was during COVID that we won that game there,
right. And so
I
didn't
we
weren't
get
even
to
there, and you didn't get to do your.
I think that's the only walk-off interview I've ever done against the Warriors in their hood. I swear, I think it is.
It probably is, and you did a good one too. And
thank you.
Again, I mentioned that like that felt like a kind of a not a sea change or anything, but just like okay, like that's something that we've kind of not conquered, but at least we're better at dealing with now. But even then, going into the game on Sunday, what I kept thinking to myself is, well, I beat them the first 2 times. Like they're going to come into this one and like they're like, we're not going to lose these guys 3 times. So in my head, I was like, well. And again, when it went the way it went, it was almost like, you've done this before. You've seen this before. Yeah. Your kind of your intuition about how this was going to go is correct. And I was wrong, it's great. I love being wrong when it comes to stuff like that.
I felt the same way. And shout out to Sean Hyken again. He's getting 2, maybe more. That he asked a question that I thought was a great question. He's in the post game. He's like, when Steph is going off like that, like what was the word he used? You feel like
starts with like demoralized.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. He said, how demoralizing is it when he's just hitting 3 after 3 after 3, and how proud of you this is to Tiago, obviously, were you of your guys that they didn't get demoralized? They didn't say, well, kind of to your point, like, well, this is their night, I guess. This is Steph's just going to do what he does, and we just can't really, like, we can't do much about it. They didn't do that at all. And I have just felt that way in the past watching Steph do this against us, again, because I feel like we play them 27 times a year, that I've watched this so many times that I'm like, oh, great, here we go. And love the fact that our guys were like, and also that Tiago added, I loved this. He goes, yeah, Steph's out here draining like crazy threes, and I was fine with our guys just bouncing back with twos. Just twos, just like keep going,
hitting singles, like you said.
Singles, yeah, you're right. I knew I wasn't saying that right.
Well, and then
singles.
The reason I mentioned that too is because after the camera trap, I was like, Tiago, I was like, you're a baseball guy? He's like, no, not really. I was like, hitting singles? He's like, well, yeah, it's like a saying,
well,
right?
we all knew what he was talking about. We knew what he meant.
But I was more like, is baseball big in Brazil? Because I can maybe see that. So,
no, he's a soccer guy.
Yeah, he is a big soccer guy.
Yeah. But I just loved that answer because
it was a good answer. And a good question. You're right.
And good, both. And I was thinking the same thing because if I were out there as a basketball player and watching this superstar, like generational talent, best shooter in the entire NBA history, in my opinion, and
I called him that in my post-game thing last night.
He is,
I kind of half expected to get some pushback.
Who's going to argue with you?
Pushback.
Who's going to?
There's always someone that's like Tungsten Arn Jones in the 1970s was a better. Yeah, exactly. Like
on the peach basket.
I think at this point, Steph has pretty much stamped that. But I don't know how it's the internet. People are going to argue about
and it's
stuff.
not like I enjoy saying it. And
exactly.
It's not like I'm like, oh yes, my guy. But I do like Steph Curry as a person. Like over the years, it's been hard to cover a team playing him just because he is so good, and he sometimes has a little bit of a swagger that it's about him, and it's his thing, and it's
like a rich kid swagger kind of thing.
Thank you. Yeah. And so I've kind of had a hard time with that, but I will say, like, good guy, good family guy, a great player.
Obviously a phenomenal player.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You want to try to not like the guy. It's just impossible. But
I will say, even as a sneaker guy, though, the thing he's doing right now with I'm wearing different sneakers all the time.
The Brand Roy stuff?
You're a little too old for this.
You think he should? Should he be wearing?
No. I mean, he can wear whatever he wants, but like switching, like bringing a different pair of shoes to every single game, and like. I mean, I understand kind of the idea that like he's been with Under Armour for so long, and now he's kind of he's
breaking out.
Nicole Kidman, I'm free or whatever. But like. To me, again, like you're just a little bit too old for that.
Where did you come up with the Nicole? That's hilarious. The Nicole Kidman "I'm free" is maybe one of the funniest things you've ever said.
Isn't that like that photo of her?
No, it is.
And she's like,
yes, no, I can see it right now, but I didn't even know that you knew what that was. But of course you do. But no, I didn't think about you. You think about sneakers more than I do. Which makes sense. But he did walk in with the Brandon Roys last night, and I did a story on it. It was kind of confusing to me because they look different than the ones he wore in 2010, and I was like, am I doing the right story here? Because I was confused.
And again, to my point, he walked in with those Brandon Roy sneakers, which at this point in time, those are probably old enough to where like you can maybe wear them a little bit on the court, but they're going to start to degrade really fast. So you couldn't wear those in a game. And then I believe he also
just did
switched.
The walk-in in his.
So he just carried them.
No, he walked into like a walk-in, like a fit check. He walked in with the red and black ones. He didn't wear those in the game.
Right, but what I'm saying, I think he did maybe wear those during warm-ups.
Oh,
and then he switched into a pair of Asia, her signature sneaker, like a yellow pair. And then he switched into a yellow pair of Kobe. So he had 3 different shoes on throughout the course of the night.
That's trying too hard.
That's what I'm saying. Is that like, again, especially for someone of his stature,
he doesn't need to do that.
That's doing too much stuff.
Yeah.
If you care.
But anyways, it means something if we're talking about Steph Curry this much. It means that you're doing something right. You have been for 17 years.
And also, I guess it also, like, it's great the Blazers won. We love that they won. The fact that he inhabits such a place in our minds is like,
what do they say? Rent lives in your brain.
Yeah,
rent-free.
I mean, like,
God, he has
like
forever.
That just goes to show, like, just the career he's had.
RESPECT. Yeah. Like that, it is truly like I respect that guy so much, and that's why we talk about him to death, because he has lived in our heads for so long.
And the last plaudit that I will give him is, and I've said this a couple times, if you were going to ask me whose career would I rather have, LeBron James or Steph Curry? Steph Curry, man, it's like it's pretty easy.
I don't even think that's a conversation.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
I mean, LeBron would call it a conversation.
Oh, by the way, I was going to send this to you and I forgot. So my friends Rosie and Stanley, you know them, Noah's parents. Mm-hmm. We went to the Nutcracker the night before the game, so 2 nights ago, and they picked me up third wheel in it. I was, and we're driving there, and she's like, what does that license plate say? And it was in front of us. I hope someone who's listening might know who this is because I'm dying to know the backstory. And I'll show it to you later. I had her take it so I could send it to you, and then I just forgot. But it was a car with a Rip City license plate. So it had the pinwheel. Mm-hmm. It just said LeBron. I will show it to you right now.
That's got to be someone that works at Nike.
But why even get...
Why get the Blazer license plate and have it say LeBron?
I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way.
Maybe it's one of the trailblazing guys, and they're doing the
like they're
Damian
trolling.
Lillard needs a third wheel.
But that's a lot of work to do to make your license plate.
I would agree. I'm always I think it's great. I'm always shocked at how many people have the Trailblazers license plates.
Everyone does, and
also anytime this is incredibly. I shouldn't even admit this, but every time I see someone with that license plate. And I pull up next to them. I'm like, I wonder if they recognize me, dude. I wonder if they follow me on Twitter.
Well, you know what's happened to me a couple of times. We've pulled up to people next to them. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy, and that's like the one. I feel like there's different kinds of it too. There's one with a pinwheel in the middle,
but you
and then
do
the one
see
with
the pinwheel
on the side. But no, I feel like they move. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I think you're right. I think there's an older one and the newer one. I think the pin. This is on the side one, and we're looking at the LeBron license plate right now. By the way, it's a blue. It is a. Is that a Lexus? I cannot tell.
I thought it was a Jetta.
Oh, it might be.
No, it's a VW. Yeah.
Oh, VW. Rip City license plate with just the word LeBron. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
No, what I was going to say is when I see them, I wonder the same thing sometimes too. But I'm usually like anyone who knows me well, including Casey, when it's an off day and not a game day, I look very different than I do. When it's a game day.
I mean, that's everybody, though.
That's true. But sometimes they might not even recognize me because I got it usually as I do now, a hat on, sweatshirt, I'm minimal makeup. But the other dad was with me. He was here, always here, in the best way. But we were driving somewhere, and I know we were picking up someone at the airport, and I saw what Again, they're everywhere. I feel like I see more Rip City license plates than not.
We're moving units.
I'm driving by them, and I look over. And it was some younger guys, and they were at the driving, and one of them rolls down their window, and they're like, Brooke! I'm like, hey! So I rolled down, so my dad's driving us, and I'm just having this conversation with the car next to us. They're like, how you doing? Big win the other night. It was so cute. And I should probably try to do it more often, because if I really engage, that's actually very dangerous. What am I saying? I shouldn't do that more often. But it was real fun and cute, because I was like, I wonder if they're, how deep they are in their Rip City fandom. And we were yelling at each other on the freeway about the game the night before. So clearly they were into it. But even all of my son's soccer parents, they all have Rip City. I don't know. And I do think some of them, because of me, Rosie and Stanley would tell you, because they went and got their car at Damian Lillard Toyota.
Well, and if you're getting into Damian Lillard Toyota too,
you have to.
You kind of got to.
You got to be real.
Yeah. Well, the Trailblazers, more broadly, they go on that road trip. Tough trip. They end up going 1-3. Have that. They come home, and I wasn't on the trip. Brooke, you were.
Yeah.
You come back from Memphis in the middle of the night. You're here for a couple days.
In the middle of the night, in the dark of the night.
You fly back to New Orleans to face the Pelicans. You got 7 guys on NBA contracts, 3 three-way guys, no centers. We haven't had point guards in a while, but just throw that in there too. That game doesn't go especially well. Trailblazers end up losing that one, I think, by 20. But
it was close up until
the end. But on one hand, it's a Pelicans team that had 3 wins at the time, but they were playing better. And also too, the Blazers just didn't hardly have anyone. It just looked like that game too. It's like these guys are just
they did all they could, man.
They just don't have anything left. And then you come back to Portland, have a couple days off, able to regroup a bit, had some really good practices. And again, so when they had a practice on Saturday, they let us into the gym, and everyone is there. Every single player is on the court. The guys who are injured on the court. Every single coach, every single training staff, every single video guy, just the entire building, just the court's full of people. And I remember when I was walking out, I was like, this was good. I was like, they've had some losses. I know that, they're not necessarily super happy with the way they've played right now. And even like when we talk to the guys after practice, I think Thiago even said, he's like, yeah, we are kind of mad. And so like I just got a good feeling from them. And sometimes you walk into the gym and you're like, there's really there's some energy, but it's just kind of whatever. Sometimes you walk in the gym and you're like, oh, geez, what? There's a fight in here or something? Like, what's going on? And then other times you walk in the gym, it's like, man, this feels like light and like guys are having fun and collegial, and it just got a good vibe to it. And that's the way I felt on Saturday when they let us in. And then to turn that into the game on Sunday, in my head I was kind of like, yeah, that makes sense to me, because like
carried over.
It seems like they've done such a good job, I think, of moving on this team. And that it was something I said
that's very true.
On the radio the other day, is that while it stinks to have as many injuries as they have, it almost helps you move on faster from losses, because you're like, yeah, I wish we would have played better, and we should have done better in that game versus at insert team the Pelicans. But man, like we are short right now. Like, and so I think not like it gives you something to blame it on, but at least I think you're living in the world. And so you can like point to that and be like, again, that doesn't mean we did everything right. That doesn't mean there's a lot of things we don't need to address. We do. But also, like, how mad can I be at myself that we lost to the Pelicans when we didn't have anyone available who was over 6'9"? Like, at a certain point, you're like, okay, like, again, I feel bad about it, but like I can move on from it, because I know that a lot of it had to do with what we did, but not all of it, and a significant amount of it didn't have to do with anything that we did. So I think that helps you move on, and I feel like they've just been good at that in general this season. I feel like, just the staff just gets these guys to kind of be like, all right, that one's done. Let's learn from it, and let's keep it moving. And
also, yes, I totally agree with that. And on the road, it was, it's tough to talk to. It's not tough to talk to Thiago after games, but like when they're ones that they could have won, and it's like successive. Like the night before was also that way. It's tough, because I want to say, which I did, when you're down. Well, when you have no centers and you have no point guards, like, what can you do? I even said to him pregame, like, you just got to get creative, I guess. He's like, yeah, we'll go small ball. We'll get creative. We'll do things. We'll try things. If they go small, we'll see how that goes. Like, it's just like, as a coaching staff, you have to just look at it like, we're going to just try things and see what works. And then afterwards, when it is truly a game they could have won, and it's just like defeating, literally defeating. We're talking in the post-game press conferences, and it's like I just kind of want to be like, oh man, I'm really sorry. Like that, I know I'm a journalist, to the extent that I am, but like I just want to be like, man, I'm really sorry. Like that's a brutal. And I will say, I've said something similar, like that was rough, but like, what did you like? Can you explain what you think happened? And then like try to look at some positives. But I totally agree with you that I think of myself, like if I were in that position, how do you just keep energizing yourself, like next up, because it is so tough to lose so many close games.
Yeah, the close games especially can be
so many
tough.
Close games. And they do, though. They're like, CD, I talked about it last night. He had a quote from practice where he said, we just keep fighting, and that's just who we are. We don't know anything different. We just keep fighting. And it's easier said than done, but they do. That's what they do. Like, there's a lot of teams that guys would be like, man, forget this. I mean, we like Deni's going out there getting triple doubles, throwing his body on the ground, and it turns out in a 3-point loss. That's frustrating. Yeah. Like, you put all this effort into something. It could be anything. It could be any job, but you put all this effort into it and you don't succeed. And there's really you're like, I don't know what else I could have done. But they just keep fighting, and they stay together, and they stay connected. And it's actually really inspiring. Like, we've covered this team for you longer. There have been stretches where you're like, oh, I don't know how they're going to get out of this. And they have the same positive attitude after every one. Yeah, they get frustrated that they didn't win, but then they're like, okay, well, moving on. And I think that says a lot about this group, and I think it's going to serve them well when they do become healthy. And now it's like, okay, we know what it feels like to lose. We don't like it, but we also know that we can bounce back and win. And now that we have this stretch that we can really make a jump, I think that they'll be ready to do that. And that's just I guess the mindset of this group, which is really inspiring to me.
Yeah, and that's also, and you're exactly right, but it also feeds into something we talked about a few episodes ago, which is that this team does seem like they get more pissed off about losses than some of the other teams I've been around.
Yes.
But both are true. Mm-hmm. Like, I think they seem to take losses harder and be madder about them than, again, some teams, or at least like show it more forward than I think some other teams did. But then they were also able to move on, which I think is like, that's the right balance. Mm-hmm. I think you want to be mad. You want to feel like there's things I need to do better. And, anger can be a powerful motivator. And I think there's something to be said about, not being okay with losing, even when there's so many games. And again, at a certain point, you got to get right with it in some regards. But to be mad about a loss and to kind of take that frustration and then use it, but then also move on, I think that's, as a professional athlete and as a professional coaching staff, like that's something you kind of have to learn how to do. And I feel like this team has done a good job of that. I feel like Thiago is, again, like he's like outwardly frustrated a lot of times at the end of game. I even thought, they beat the Warriors, and one of the first things he's like, they scored too many points. We can't let them score that many points. And I want to be like, hey, Thiago, like, let's just,
just be like, yay.
It's the Warriors. I know you haven't been here a ton of time, but like, this means something to people.
What I take from that is he's been on the other side much that he's not going to be like, woohoo,
And you want to, as a coach, you want to like, it's nice to be able to coach in wins. And because, it's one thing to lose and be like, we let them score too many points. And it's like, yeah, coach, we know, mm-hmm. like we lost the game. And so to be able to win the game, but then also be like, these are the things we did wrong and we need to improve them. It just comes across a lot better. And I think it's more powerful in terms of
it was. Yeah. I loved it. And I know you're going to bring it up. I hope it's okay that I do.
Brooke,
you don't know.
Of course, you should. Yeah,
the defensive box.
Yes.
Which I felt that was a nice segue into that, where I didn't see that coming. I love it. Like, we love a prop. And for him to bring in this box, and it was in a box that looked like it was just delivered from Amazon. So it was like very curious. And it was on a pedestal in the locker room after the game, and opened it. And it's like a lockbox. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Tumani's waffle box.
And I think it was maybe kind of
was it that
fashioned out
of
okay.
Yeah. Well, then I feel stupid because I'm like, oh wow, I thought that was like I thought that up on my own, but apparently maybe that was the plan. And when you are voted best defensive player by Thiago, you get to put your name in, and at the end of the year, who has the most gets some sort of prize. Genius, in my opinion. Absolutely genius. Because you get the ball when you have a great game, and we love this, but to put a prize on a specific thing as like defense, which obviously they want that to be their bread and butter this year. They want that to be their thing, and it was, and it's not anymore, but it will always be. But like we saw it in such not perfection, but in its beauty at the beginning of the season when everyone was healthy. Like it was defense leading to offense, defense like everything. It was just everything that we've like Blazers basketball. Like that's what we saw. And so to bring this kind of like right now, I think it's the perfect time. And I love that he gave it to Ceedy because and not only was he great defensively, but he was energy in like the most beautiful form where he just loved every play was like the biggest play of the world. And I loved it. I was like, yes, Ceedy. Yes, it is. Go.
Some trash talking too. As I understand it.
I love that. Yeah. And so he got that, and I think it's such a great inspirational thing where you go out there, and I remember when I was 5, whoever got like the award for most hustle, whatever. Like if I got that, I was happy the rest of the day. It's just like to be rewarded for something, especially something that maybe would not show up on a stat sheet. That's such a great idea. Yeah, I loved it.
Mental toughness, extra effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those kind of awards. Yeah, and so you should check out the video on social. Yeah, there's a box now that they have in the locker room. I was really impressed too that like they brought the standout with it, and like I felt like I was like, I bet Thiago thought about this for a half second before he pulled it out.
Oh,
because like it was like in the box, but it was open. But then like he took it out of the box, but then put it on the stand. Like it seemed like I was like,
it was a production.
They talked about this for a minute or two before they did, which I really appreciate. And so it's to kind of recognize the player that they feel like was the best defender or just did a nice job defensively in that game. And you're exactly right, Brooke. And again, that was something we talked about recently, or I maybe just mentioned it on Twitter about, I wish the Blazers had the like if the opponent misses 2 free throws, you get something. Or if you hold the opponent under X, which you can't really do anymore because every team averages more than 100 points. But just the idea of like, there's so much emphasis put on offense in sports, and you understand why. But defense is obviously very important too. And like, yeah, let's figure out a way to single out the guys who are doing well defensively, because the guys offensively who do well, they get noticed. Defensive guys sometimes maybe not as much. And to your point about kind of the post game interviews, do they notice that or do they care? I don't know, but I think sometimes they do. And I know for a fact, and I'm not going to tell this story, but I do know for a fact that sometimes players can get bent out of shape if they don't get attention from the media that other guys get sometimes. Like I have seen that.
I think that's just sometimes. Normal life in every.
Exactly. You want to get recognized for what you've done. So that box thing I think is really cool. And
really
again,
cool.
like I just like the idea of like it's become such a thing in like college football now, where like every team has a turnover something or rather. Like they have the turnover chain, or Beavers have the chainsaw. You got a belt, which I feel like maybe that's already trailed off a little bit, but like that was like a huge thing for a couple seasons.
I think it's a great idea,
and it is. It's one of those things too where it like.
Well, it creates competition within, and you want to like be the guy,
and fun competition too. Like, and I think that's what I would say is that sometimes throughout the course of a season, particularly a long season, like you can get to these stretches sometimes where you're just like, man, this is a slog. Like, and so to have something that's just kind of like a little fun, I think really goes a long way. And again, like particularly when you've got kind of a younger team, like just doing stuff that's a little kind of like, again, it's just a little more fun and not as like, I won't even say professional because it is professional, but just like not making it so serious all the time. And I think it can feel that way sometimes. And I think it's smart to do things that kind of break that up. And so to have another award and something to kind of get guys excited about and to celebrate each other, that's always the best part of those videos.
Oh
is
my
like
gosh.
The guys, like
our team is the
teammates,
best at
like
celebrating
being excited
each
for
other.
the other guys. I think that's great. I mean, it's great to get from the coaching staff, but really like the players being excited when their teammates have success. That's a really important part of being on a team.
To that point, I don't recall a year, again, this is my 10th, of doing interviews, and I'm trying so hard to ask these guys about their offensive nights. Like, how did you get the shots you wanted? How did you cover up their defense? Like, what was your game plan coming in, looks you want? And every answer, and it's great, it's fine, is couldn't have done it without my teammates. And then you watch the bench when someone goes off, when Dwab hits a three, when Shaedon has a crazy dunk, when Jerami hits the corner three and gets fouled, they are losing their minds. And I just don't. I mean, it's always been like, our teams have always supported each other, but I don't remember a time where like everyone was so selfless, where it's like their success is my success, our success. There's no jealousy. There's no. At least I don't feel that way. I don't see any of it. I don't get that vibe in the slightest. You just watch the bench. All you have to do is watch the bench. When someone does something great, they're all on their feet. They're doing some sort of, something like some sort of routine or celebration that they've all, they know it belongs to that play and they do it all. And so last night, like Matisse, I was telling you this earlier, Matisse and Jrue were sitting behind me at the tall seats behind me in my little corner. And they always go up during during timeouts, like obviously to be in the huddle, even though they're not playing. But Jrue could not sit down in the second half. So he would get up, and when someone did something, he'd rush out almost to the floor, but not all the way to the floor because he was sitting behind us. And he would be talking. And I could hear him behind me because, I have one ear out usually during games. So if I can, because there's a couple times where fans would say something like, I've been talking to you for 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I got my ears in.
I know. So, because they're literally noise canceling. That's the point of them. So I always take my left one out. So in case someone's trying to talk to me, I can hear them. So I could hear Matisse and Jrue talk, and they're just talking the whole time, breaking down the plays, breaking down like, Deni, go left. No, he needs to go left. Like, do this. And then, but Jrue was like up every second, could not sit down. He's like a jitterbug, could not sit down, jumping up after every play, like especially towards the end, obviously. And it was just fun to watch. Like, he was so excited for everyone in their play, in whatever play they made, defensively or offensively. And like, just, I guess I'll wrap it up by saying, I just don't remember a time where I felt like everyone was so supportive of their teammates, where it's always like, well, I don't want to take any credit, I'm giving it to my teammates. And it's like that every night, and which is great, but it's like, well, just talk for a second about how you play. It's hard.
Yeah. Well, and you run down the list of kind of some of the veteran guys in the team too, and like it makes sense. They're just not those kind of guys.
No.
So Jeremy's never going to talk about himself at any kind of length. Deni is really about like,
Denny's number one at talking about his teammates.
Like team.
I even gave him
stuff.
grief after one of our walks. I was like, next time, can you just take a slight amount of credit? He's like, no.
Yes, yeah, he's like, actually, no. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, fine.
Jrue, obviously, like one of the great teammate leaders
awesome.
in the NBA, so much so that like he's been rewarded for it multiple times with those awards they give. Rob Williams, another guy too, who's like,
yes.
I mean, one of the best dudes just in general, but like is always like so supportive of teammates and wants them to be successful and wants to find ways to.
And on the flip side, I would say perhaps, not to say there should be a number one, but like I would, if I had to pick a guy that the team loses their minds over the most when he does something well, it might be Rob.
It probably is Rob, yeah. Which, and that's just I love that Rob calls Hansen Hans. Like
he does?
he
I didn't even know that.
He always started as like. He's like, yeah, Donovan and Hans. Like,
oh yeah, actually, I've heard that. I haven't heard him say it to his face, but that's great.
I like they calls him Hans. I mean, all those guys are just like, I mean, and then Dame obviously, is letting everyone else kind of do their thing, but obviously a fantastic leader and a guy who goes out of his way to elevate his teammates on and off the court any possible chance he gets. And yeah, and I think also when you have a season where some stuff happens and it's like, all right, like that brings the team together a little bit, and again, I just feel like it's just a really good group of guys who are close, but it's not like it's like weird and like they're supportive of each other, but it's
behind the scenes they're not. It's not
so
like
much fake,
yeah,
and
not
like
at all.
yeah, and you've seen that before too, so like
yes.
it's.
Let's just say in our past podcasts, if there was something like that, we just wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So the fact that we are so. Like I don't want to say pushing it, but like really being honest about it. We wouldn't say it. We wouldn't say it if we. Oh God, I just thought there was a stranger in my backyard. It's my dad. I was like, someone's in my backyard. Oh, it's my dad.
No,
sorry, guys. We're in my kitchen.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I'm a Hall of Famer. Just walking around aimlessly in the backyard.
He's got a little bit of a lumber to him too.
He does. So like he does. It scared me for a brief second. But no, I totally agree, and we can wrap it up by saying not wrap it up or wrap that conversation up just by saying it's pleasant for us.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see when they talk about each other. They mean it, and really, I can't. There's no animosity. There just isn't. Even when I don't even want to. Starting positions when we at the beginning of the season, when Jeremy wasn't starting, obviously Jeremy's killing it. He, and we've talked about this before, it was totally blown out, in my opinion, blown out of proportion. All he said was, yeah, I'd like to start. Again, who wouldn't? I'd like to start.
Yeah.
If I was playing basketball right now, I'd like to start. But he was totally accepting of whatever his role was. And there's no animosity towards Shaedon or anyone who's getting the starting spot. Like those guys are all boys. Like the locker room is hilarious. When we go in, Casey and I go in after a game, unfortunately, sometimes after a loss, it's not necessarily hilarious. But after a win, whoever's got the interview, like where we're interviewing, there's some guy from behind yelling at him, going, like Jeremy, or whoever's getting interviewed, they're like talking, they're yelling at him. And like, here's a quick example. Last night, I interviewed Sunday Ryan Rupert, and who's the sweetest guy in the world. And Ceedee, who is his best bud, was standing in the corner behind the camera videotaping with his phone, and Roops was like, no, man, don't do, no, please don't. He's like, nope, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So the entire interview, Roops is kind of looking at me, kind of looking at CD. And so, of course, I ask about CD, who I did mention. I was like, so tell me about CD, who's literally, videoing our conversation right now. And he had a great answer about that. And it was just so cute. Like, he knew that Roops was getting interviewed, so he came out to support him. Like, you're doing amazing, sweetie.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I was thinking we got to get back to doing that more regularly.
We do.
Maybe not this episode, but maybe the next episode.
Next one.
Real quick, before we do wrap it up here on the 51st edition of the Blazers Balcony, presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. Just real quick, since you mentioned Jrue Holiday, seems like guys are getting close to coming back from injury as well. Obviously, getting both Donovan and Rob and Hansen back. Super helpful. They don't win that game, obviously, if they don't have centers versus the Warriors, even against a team like the Warriors, which can sometimes be tough matchups for centers, but they were great in that one. Hansen had a really great game with the remix on Monday morning in the field trip game, as did Round Repair. So that was nice to see. So you still got Jrue Holiday, who hopefully maybe sometime. For me, at this point, I'm like, before 2026. Like, that's kind of what my hope is. I think it might be earlier than that.
I do too.
I think Matisse is getting close to. So when those guys are able to come back, and you talked about kind of the defense early on in the season, there was a stat in the little stat pack they gave us that I thought, it's simple, but it really shows kind of the difference personnel-wise between kind of where they're at the beginning of the season and where they're at now, is that I think like in the first 7 games, they had at least 10 steals in each one of those games, and they've only done that once since. Mm-hmm. And around 7-8 games is where guys started to go down, particularly Matisse and Blake.
No, so that's exactly what it was.
So it's one of those things where it's like, that's a very obvious, stark delineator that's like, when we have all of our guys, we can be a menace defensively. When you lose guys, I'm sorry, folks, that matters. Mm-hmm. If everyone was the same, you and I would be starting for the Portland Trail Blazers, but we're not the same. Some guys are more talented than others. Some guys are more skilled at particular things than others. Mm-hmm. And when you're replacing guys with guys who don't have those same levels of skills, it is going to have a result on the court. And so if they're able to get those guys back sometime soon and they're able to get back to that style of defense, I think, again, they can really kind of, I won't say go on a run necessarily, but now that also their schedule is lightening up a bit too. Next 2 games versus the Kings, Thursday at Moda Center, Saturday in Sacramento, and then 5 straight games at home before heading out for that New Year's trip. So a chance to get healthy at home and maybe get a little momentum going into 2026. And again, they've got 10 wins now. I think still probably positioned better than maybe some of us thought they were going to be earlier on in the season. And, they've had a dip, exactly. But if they're able to get some guys back, particularly Jrue, if they're able to have a point guard on the team, I think that'd be great. And if you got a guy in Matisse who, again, is good for 3 steals a night, that really changes the way you can play defensively. So I guess all that to say is that if they're just able to kind of tread water right now, which they've done a decent job of, they get some of those guys back, who knows what happens?
I feel the same exact way. I feel like it's, again, I don't want to step ahead, but I feel like the momentum that was gained at the beginning of the season when everyone was healthy, it was like, I remember I talked to so many fans that were like, this is so exciting. I love this team. This is so fun to watch. And it still has been fun to watch, and they've still been competitive. But you forget a guy like Blake, who was just playing out of his mind, and Matisse, who is just a very special defender. You're right. We had those 10 steal games back to back to back because they were involved. And so just getting them back would the improvement. I can't even, I can't, and Scoot, and yes, when everyone comes back, I just have such high expectations. I'm not even mentioning the guys
who are a little further off.
I know, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said it. No. But just having everyone back, it's a different team in a way that it's improved. It's elevated, and these guys are working their tails off every night, and they've been in most games, truly most games. And think about just adding those pieces. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I can't wait. I think it's going to be a game changer for sure.
I hope so, and I hope it's soon, and I hope that those guys are able to stay healthy because it'd just be great for everybody. Well, that's going to do it for this edition.
I have one more thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I know we're running up. I don't want you to be late.
I know, but I do have to add Tortured Florist Department.
Right, yeah.
Jesse.
Your wreath.
And his fam. Saw him recently, and a couple of years ago, I had the Dwap wreath that he made. He is an amazing florist. Got that from him. Put it on my front door. Loved it. And he told me that he had added a couple new ones this year. And Murray Christmas is, as in Murray Chris Murray, is now in my possession. I got it today.
It's a nice
Casey
wreath,
saw it.
too. Yeah.
It's super nice. It's like hefty.
It's a very nice wreath. Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I picked it up today, so I'm really excited. Merry Christmas, everyone. That's what you should say moving on. If you're talking to a Blazers fan, say Merry Christmas, and then they'll understand what you're saying. But I can't wait to post it, or to post it, put it up.
Voice too.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, is that your like Santa voice? Or?
Well, there's this one meme, and I'll be done with it, where this girl is trying to say Merry Christmas, and for some reason she has like so many issues doing it, and she's like Merry Chrysler, Merry Chrysler, and my friend, it's a whole inside joke, so we always say Merry Chrysler to each other because this girl could not figure out how to say Merry Christmas, no idea why, but so Merry Chrysler is what we say, but now it's going to be Merry Christmas.
Yeah, that's like I say Happy Valentine's Day from the 30 Rock, where what's her name is the
Liz Lemon.
Well, no, it's
Blondie.
No, so she's a big character. She was on SNL. Short, dark hair.
Edie Bryant?
No.
We could do this all day.
Yeah. So she was supposed to be Jenna's character. Like when Tina Fey wrote 30 Rock, like she was supposed to be the character. But she's not blonde and so on and so forth. So they were like, we don't think this is really going to work, which is why they gave it to the woman who ended up playing Jenna, who was great. But then she played roles throughout the years on 30 Rock. She played the like Barbara Walters.
I knew that's who I knew you were going to say. Yes. So, I was going to say, did she play Barbara Walters?
Sherry O'Terry.
No, it is Sherry O'Terry.
Is it?
Yes, it's Sherry O'Terry. She played Barbara Wawa. Yes. I know this for a fact.
That's well. I'm the SNL
queen.
I am not going to dispute your SNL knowledge. So
Sherry O'Terry.
But she says Happy Valentine's Day because she's playing a prostitute.
Yeah, Sherry O'Terry is who's played Barbara Walters and then interviewed Barbara Walters, and it's maybe one of the funniest things you've ever seen in your whole life.
No, that's not her.
Yes, it is. She played Barbara Walters.
I'm not disputing that she played Barbara Walters on SNL.
Well, then you led me astray.
That is not. No, I'm saying she played Barbara Walters on an episode of 30 Rock.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Okay, now I'm going to have to get it here.
Well, Sherry O'Terry played Barbara Walters on SNL, and I will go to my grave telling you that. Casey led me down the wrong road.
Her.
Oh, wait, there's 3 different people on
it's this one.
Rachel Dratch.
Rachel Dratch. See, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Rachel Dratch. That took 5 minutes to...
Wow, sorry, everyone.
A stupid reference that I was making that didn't even matter or anything, which is a perfect encapsulation.
And that's what we do here.
Of what you get here on the Blazers Balcony presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. That is going to do it for us. We will talk to you soon. Again, Thursday versus the Kings at Moda Center. Saturday versus the Kings at Golden One. Then 5 straight, beginning with Detroit's on the 22nd. Back-to-backs, too. There's 2 back-to-backs.
Anyways.
Holiday back-to-backs. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll talk to you soon.
Peace out.